Pop Culture Pastor.
Cody, if you ever find yourself out in the woods.
I do find myself out in the woods a lot.
Really?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, you know, I'm just a woods explorer looking for ancient ruins of apparently dungeons.
As one does.
That little section, by the way, gives real Dungeons and Dragons vibes. The we're going to talk about Julie walking into the ruins and being magically whisked away to whatever time the old dude with the beard is all chained up in there, looking like he's straight out of Dungeons and Dragons.
I was thinking Xanadu.
That is a deep cut, sir.
There was no skating, but
this show needs a little Olivia Newton-John.
it does.
Alas, she's no longer with us.
Oh, you could play the song at the diner.
That would be amazing. That would be the kind of song that would come up at the diner, too.
It would be.
If that happens.
You heard it here first.
Oh, man. If that ever happens and they played Xanadu, I would just fall out. I would just absolutely I'd have to pause the show because I'd be laughing so hard, especially since we talked about it. Anyways, welcome. This is Pop Culture Pastor Watch-Alongs. My name's Dave. Cody's here.
I am.
And we watched from season 3, episode 8, Thresholds. Or something like that. I don't know what the actual name of it is, but
Now we're just making stuff up.
this seemed to be the episode that sets up the rest of the season, the last 2 episodes.
Where Cody's Fromspiracy is proven true.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Although I haven't said this Fromspiracy out loud.
There is one specific instance we'll get to in this episode where I thought, oh my gosh, Cody is right.
All the time.
About specifically about his, whether it's a mental hospital or somewhere where they're patients. And I just thought, oh my goodness, is Cody right? But we'll get there. We'll get there. But as always, we start off with, what the from? Cody, what is our what the from moment from this episode?
So my what the from moment was towards the very end. Elgin and Fatima are hanging out against Fatima's will.
Oh, what? Really?
And he's trying to get her to stay in this area, and she's like, no, you're crazy. And he's like, I have been the most calm and polite person on this whole show. Why aren't we trusting me? He might not have said those words, but that's what I was thinking. And she's getting like trying to fight him off, and then he's like, well, we have to put you here one way or another. And I'm like, what the from?
Yeah. Yeah. But he says something specifically that we'll get to.
Yes.
That is enlightening. And
I will-
also, if you couple it with what he said last episode to the kimono lady, we'll get there.
Yes.
Was
I
there?
left it vague for
Yeah.
future conversation.
There's all sorts of things going on there. So let's just start with the recap. We start with the Fatima fallout from the previous episode. Fatima has impaled Tilly with garden shears.
Rest in peace.
Yes, Tilly, her last words to Fatima, run, and that's going to be eventually what happens, because this episode starts with Boyd skipping town with Fatima, taking her to a hideout in the woods. Is it okay that I just call her Fatima and not the way they pronounce it?
Fatima.
But there's a catch in it. It's like Fatima. Like, I can't pronounce it how Ellis pronounces it. Fatima. It's like Emma is anyways.
Yeah.
They say it weird, and I'm just like, I can't say that.
We're from Kansas.
So Boyd takes her to this little, it's barely a shack.
Yeah. It reminds me of a tool shed that my grandparents had. Like it's barely enough space for a person to turn around in.
And I mean, you said tool shed, so I immediately went King of the Hill, or the pre-King of the Hill, where he's kind of based off the old man from Beavis and Butthead. Are you the two boys that have been in my tool shed? Yeah. Fatima explains to Boyd that Tilly just got in the way of, quote, a rage inside her. A murderous rage, Cody. Boyd says they're going to find a way forward. Says, your family.
And I was looking for Dominic Toretto at that moment.
His family. This is where it merges with Fast and Furious 8,000. And yeah, they all roll into town at the same time. We go to Jade, who returns to the bar where his peace is disturbed by Henry, who's also seeking a certain kind of peace, a very specific kind.
Old Henry.
He is a bit inebriated, Cody.
So I kind of wonder if out in the real world for the past 40 years, if this has kind of been his life, or if just the complete stress and chaos of this situation has him like, well, might as well kick back.
Yeah. Well, I have that down here. I was going to ask you, is Henry giving you weird vibes, or is this a legit way that some people would react? Because in some moments he seems to be like, I'm going to be here in this moment with my son, Victor. And then in other moments he's like, I'm breaking down. Or in other moments, like this moment, he didn't even seem broken down in this moment. This seemed to be like, I don't know. There's a part of me that wonders if he's more aware than he's letting on of what is happening. And he can't deal with the knowledge of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's acting someone with great guilt. Now that could be because we already know he's guilty about him not being able to do anything to stop all this and have his son grow up in a place like this.
Yeah. And I also kind of wonder if there's guilt about maybe not fully believing the wife. But
well, for sure, we're going to get an indication of that.
I wonder if where the wife got all those bottles for her treat. That might have all been Henry.
Henry is the supplier of the faraway trees bottles. Maybe. Julie and Randall. This is still weird, Cody. Julie goes to say goodbye to Randall after staying at the clinic for the night. Can you tell Christy and Marielle thank you for letting me stay the night? I don't get a thank you. Ew, Cody.
Gross.
What is happening? There's this weird... There was flirtation there, right? That was flirtation.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to read that any other way. So... Again, I'm back to this age where she's 17, right, at most. And he's however old he is. I'm assuming 25-ish.
He looks it.
Like, look, they think they're all about to die at any moment, at any time. I get it. But I'm just like, where are we going with this, writers?
Let's have her celebrate her 18th birthday.
Yeah, that would be nice. She cheekily thanks Randall for letting her stay at the place that the people are letting him stay at. And Julie brings up the haunted arches, which is I've come to start calling them.
McDonald's.
And she says they should go check it out. And suddenly, very sane thinking Randall advises Julie to stay away. There is nothing here that wants to help us. Cody, is there something about this place that's trying to stomp out the very human belief that there's inherently some goodness everywhere, that in any situation we can appeal to the goodness that is just present in a moment?
I don't know for certain. I mean, you do kind of get that aspect with, oh, there's creepy monsters that come out at night. There's certain areas that like you see or hear things, and they're not like uplifting things. So one could venture that may be the case with this place, that it might be trying to test the limits of human hope and determination, resiliency to live.
Yeah. This seems to be where the town's heading. The split, right? There are the people who are optimists, who think there's a way home, and then there are the people who thinks, no, nothing here is trying to help you. We're going to hear that refrain at least 2 more times in this episode. You're going to hear it from one of the characters in the town, and you're going to hear it from a memory. So you're going to hear that specific refrain. Nothing here is trying to help you. So that was important, and I marked it down. So now we're back at Colony House. The Colonians, the hippies have found
the hippies.
Tilly's body, and it's all just going to pot now. Boyd is walking Ellis back to the place to get some things of Fatima's. Boyd is straight up engaging in subterfuge now.
Yeah.
Right? I just used the word subterfuge.
Accurately.
Kenny gets his attention, brings him to the greenhouse where Acosta is already in investigation mode, which I'm sure you loved.
It was at that moment I'm like, you guys should have like staged it to look completely different. Like found an arrow and just stuck it out of her chest. Then no one's even presuming that Fatima could have done it, because you don't know Fatima to be an archer.
From the moment the camera switches to the inside the greenhouse view of Boyd stepping in the doorway with Kenny, and Acosta is down like squatting, making like she looks like she's posing right out of CSI Miami. She's got the face like, she's detectiving the heck out of this.
I was ready for her to do a one-liner and put on her glasses and walk out.
Well, I guess Tilly really lost the pulse. That would have been amazing. We need that crossover. But yeah, Boyd's just straight up lying and acting now. And he tells them to start questioning people, and that's what they're going to do. Then Donna enters the chat, immediately incriminates Sarah. Boyd says it wasn't her, but reluctantly agrees to go with Donna later. Boyd's just kind of kicking the can down the road to buy more time, and in the meantime damaging all his credibility.
He don't need credibility. Not in a place like this.
I mean, I guess. It seems like we're heading for...
This is the lawless Wild West.
The showdown at the OK Corral. Like, something is going to change by the end of this season. Boyd, finally they get alone, and Boyd is finally talking sense to Ellis on why he can't stay with Fatima. Duh. When Donna bursts into the station, and she immediately senses the tension and asks, hey, what's going on? And then Boyd, because they're running out of answers. Like, they don't know what to do, and Boyd just says that it wasn't Sarah, it was Fatima. And the look on Donna's face, Cody, this was incredible acting, because you can actually see it in her face the moment she loses faith in Boyd. Like, it was crazy. I thought that acting was unbelievable.
So, like, this scene, being upset that it was Fatima and that she was like, I warned you guys. And I'm like, come on. You said she could have stayed there another night. She didn't get to make it to the night. That's not on Boyd.
I mean, at this point, though, I don't know what they're doing. Boyd, which is this is what the monsters wanted. They wanted to damage his credibility. That seemed to be that, like, they said they were going to break him. And it wasn't just about breaking him as far as, like, I think this is what makes me think of the government conspiracy stuff. Like, they're not just attacking him to break down him as a person. They're breaking down his credibility, everything, his ability to lead. Because if you take out a good leader, then often you take out the whole unit. And so it seems too smart for whatever the bad actor is in this show.
Which I do have a Fromspiracy that may explain it.
Okay, but now's not the time?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
I'll wait.
Okay. I have a big Fromspiracy too. Everyone needs to stay tuned. I have a big one. So Donna's not down for Boyd's plan, which is essentially, well, we'll just bring her back in a couple days and everyone will know she garden sheared Tilly, but they'll accept it if I say it's all right, like with Sarah.
That made zero sense to me.
It makes sense from his perspective. He's like just being too egotistical, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that the Boyd that protected Sarah would have made that statement. So we have shifted over a bit.
Yeah, well, further proof that the monster's plan
is working
to destroy him as a leader is working. Donna says, obviously, they don't believe in you anymore. And Cody, we've been working towards this all season. The specific attack on Boyd as a leader. And Donna finally says, if you aren't going to tell everyone, then I am. How do you think we end this season with Boyd? Is he enemy number one to the townsfolk?
I'd like to think he'll go all John Rambo, live out in the woods.
And does Acosta take over the sheriff's station?
I will be rooting for all the monsters at all the time.
There's a new sheriff in town, Cody, and her name is Acosta.
Accosting everyone and shooting first, asking questions never.
Meanwhile, Jim is still the worst. Just the worst.
Maybe he'll get it before his time on From ends.
He comes. She's like, first of all, Tabs is doing the dishes. Jimbo, Jimothy. Come on, my man. Can't we do something? Tabs can't keep the hope afloat in Fromville and do all the household chores. And then you're going to come at her with platitudes?
Yeah.
He says, look, I know you want this all to mean something. And this place has convinced you that you need to save these jobs. I mean, he straight up comes to mansplain her while she's doing the dishes.
That sounds like the Jim I know.
He tells Tabs that Thomas checked in the other day, says that this place manipulates them, which we're having some fun with Jim. But to be fair, this all seems orchestrated to have put a rift between them. Tabitha's obviously important. And again, we see this place very strategically trying to break down a leader.
Potential leader.
Yeah. So he says this place is manipulating them. Cody, is he right?
Well, it's at least manipulating him into being manipulated into trying to say that everything's manipulated.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, there's manipulation, but like, if he was using his critical thinking lens, he would say, they used my dead son to talk about manipulation. That seems a little manipulating.
Yeah. And I think it's important we're fair because everybody hates Jim right now. But he was the guy who had the radio idea, was bent on it, like he wanted to get everyone home. and heard the voice on the radio too. He was the only one that heard that voice. And the voice knew who he was. The voice said, your wife shouldn't be digging that hole. Like, so he's the only one with that experience now. And I think we forget that sometimes, and it would maybe make us go a little lighter on Jim. It's just the way he mansplains it.
Nope. He is Jim Belushi.
He is the lesser Belushi. He tells Tabs about Thomas, and there's a knock at the door, and it's Sarah. She says Victor wants to talk to Tabs. Now Victor is still struggling with Jasper, trying to remember what he told Christopher. Right, that's what's happening there. So Sarah, and he's freaking out. So Sarah has come
having
to get Tabs,
a meltdown,
and Tabs just jumps into action. She's like, "All right, I'll be there in a minute." And Jim looks incredulous, Cody. The look on his face. I put that in my notes that the actor Ian Bailey, his face is perfect in that moment.
Give him an Emmy.
Oh man,
for facial acting.
So Tabitha leaves to go help Victor, even though Jim is incredulous. And so Jim is, well, he's upset. He loses his cool maybe a little bit. And he heads out to take out his frustration on the only person left he can think of to take out his frustration on, and that would be Jade.
Rude.
Yeah, Jim has a moment here where he's just like going to take out his frustration on someone like it's all their fault. This was weird to me, but people be acting like this.
Yes. It wasn't unheard of.
Yeah. So Jim comes in guns blazing. Who the fruit do you think you are, dragging my wife and kid out into the From Forest? Jade says what we all want to say in this moment. What is she, 9? I'm getting a little tired of the sanctimonious blue-collar bull stuff, Jim. Jim accuses Jade of just wanting to be the smartest, unlikable guy in the room, to which Jade nails it again. He says, if it gets us home, who cares? David Alpay continues to kill it.
Give him the Emmy this year.
Oh, man. What did you think of that moment? Because I'm literally like yelling out in my home watching this scene.
I was like, hey, everyone should have been listening to Jade all along if you were living with the townspeople. If you were one of the hippies, you should have been listening to Elgin the whole time.
You have never been off the Elgin train.
No, and I'm still on it. Choo choo.
Well, David Alpay as Jade kills this scene, but the killing ain't done. Because Jade, after he gets angry and puts Jim in his place, basically is the audience proxy. Like, you're mansplaining your wife. She's an adult.
Get off my lawn.
But the killing ain't done because Drunk Henry has got something to say too. First of all, as Jade leaves, he says, well, that was certainly productive.
Yep.
The actor Robert Joy bringing the laughs with Drunk Henry. And then he says this to Jim. Maybe sometimes when you're wife, you should shut up and listen.
I mean, Henry did.
And then Ian Bailey as Jim gets to practice his incredulous look again. Incredulous! Cody. He's incredulous.
That's a look that he occasionally has.
Henry explains, I see me 40 years ago. I was so sure I could fix her. It never occurred to me she wasn't broken.
And that's when I was like, this sounds like time slippage. And is Tabitha Henry's wife? And Jim is really Henry?
That's literally impossible. How could that possibly happen without anyone recognizing anyone?
Paradox.
You just said that. That doesn't even make sense.
Alternate realities are converging. So no, I do have a theory though. I'll go now.
All right, Fromspiracy.
Yes. So I do think it's a bit of a hospital of sorts. And I know everyone, their mom was like, government.
Yeah. You don't think so? Not government.
Let's try E.T.
You think they're being experimented on?
Aliens.
It's always been aliens.
Yes. So I will say, I don't know if the writers of this show have seen Ancient Aliens, but one of the ancient alien conspiracies is that there's like tunnels all across the globe that are interconnecting, and that's kind of where the aliens actually live, because it doesn't make sense for them to just be hovering up there forever, just hanging out in the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay.
And there are things that, I mean, they seem out of this world. The monsters do, especially when they start to not look human.
Yeah.
And it explains kind of the shape shifting. If it is like, oh, we're just plucking people and then imprinting on them this place, and they keep seeing this place even though it's not really real. It might just all be in their head, and that's why they can't really leave, is because they're stuck here, like in what is basically like a room, but they have a vision of something imprinted of where everything should be. And then it explains maybe why there isn't a hotel or a motel.
Motel.
Yeah, motel. There's not a motel. That like they just quickly imprinted something kind of like AI would, where it's incomplete.
I got you.
Yes.
I got you. But then the monsters, someone would have like, 8 fingers.
Well, when they go into full monster mode, they might. I haven't looked at the digits.
That's an interesting theory, and it checks out because the things of Fromville are kind of mishmashed and weird, and things like the motel don't have all their pieces. Like, it doesn't seem complete. Like it's a memory that's not complete, right? So yeah, that's good stuff. I hadn't thought of that. Let's go back to Julie. Julie brings Ethan to the haunted arches. She ain't much for the problem-solving skills, is she, Cody?
Nope. I think maybe she is too much like... Honestly, Tabitha just kept digging.
Yeah.
And then Tabitha's like, I'm going to go through the hole in the tree. I feel Jim does some critical thinking at times. It's just not consistent. So she definitely is a product of her household.
Yeah. Yeah, the most dangerous guy in town tells Julie it doesn't seem safe. And Julie says, I think I'll bring my the last kid brother I got left.
Yep.
Was that too soon? Can I make that joke? I mean, it's not a joke. That's exactly what she did.
Not good problem solving.
But Ethan manages to give a little speech here, and I'm not even sure if it is important or not. But he says when Julie's frightened before she walks in, he says that she's at a threshold. Which, what kind of kid story is this dude reading?
I like to think he's listening to and watching the movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and listening to the soundtrack, because there is a song called Threshold. And that explains it all for me. He's really big into Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I mean, this Camernackle story or whatever he's reading sounds like it's on a reading level for an adult.
I can count on one hand how many times I have used Threshold.
Just now.
Yes.
So they join hands. He says, I'll walk into it with you together. And then as soon as they walk past the arches, she is magically whisked away through time and space to the dungeon place that old man Martin is chained up in, as she sees herself first and Randall and Marielle screaming from last season. We see that as she is seeing that, we see that her body is still up with Ethan, her physical body, and she's having a seizure. And Cody, this was something I thought played to your Fromspiracy. As someone who's a medical patient, who's just a patient somewhere, she's having a seizure, but she's having all these fantastical visions. So she's not, this is a vision. It's not real, right?
Potentially, but things are happening.
I know. There's like real things happening
that connect to previous seasons.
Then all of a sudden, where she's at, they're gone. She turns around and there's Martin chained up, telling Boyd he's got to climb out of the pit from season 1 after he was trapped in it going through the faraway tree. And we're officially time looping. So that's the big thing now. Everybody's
time loop.
Everybody's talking about this online. The time loop, I mean, it hasn't been a secret. There's been timey-wimey things going on. There's the monsters all dressed up in old clothing. We've seen Civil War soldiers. There's something weird going on here, but this is where it gets trippy. Because Martin recognizes her, addresses her by name. Julie? Wait, I was like, pause, what?
It's because it's the same people over and over, just throughout different time periods.
Yeah, I had a Fromspiracy here, but it's not completely fleshed out, so I'll just say it without the fanfare. I really feel like Martin is either Randall or Ethan.
Yep.
Now, I don't know why he's going by a different name, maybe to not freak people out.
Or is it Thomas?
Would he recognize her?
He knew what his siblings and dad sound like on the phone.
Yeah. Martin tells her to leave after, directing her to toss the rope to Boyd. So we're assuming here that she's the one. We've been wondering that since season 1, the finale of like, oh, okay. So she's the one who tosses the rope to Boyd.
You shouldn't just listen to random spirits.
What's that from? Is that from something?
I feel like it is, but
he tells her to leave. She goes to turn around and wants another look, but he's gone. Or is she gone? I'm not really sure.
We're all gone.
Now she's in the cave. She hears her mother and Victor from last season, and she continues, with this kind of time loop thing she's going on. She's going on a tour. Meanwhile, up top, or wherever her actual body is at, Ethan has employed the help of Kenny and Acosta, my new ship, by the way. I'm just saying, I think they'd make a great couple. I'm so here for the Kenny Costa.
No.
The Ken Costa.
No, thank you.
They pull Julie out of the haunted arches, and her seizure and time loop immediately stop. So that place is like some sort of channeling thing.
Ancient aliens.
Now, Cody, this is important. Do we think she's going to share this information with anyone? Like she's got some pretty wildly important information now.
She'll share it with Randall, the person that is least helpful,
the person least connected in the leadership. Meanwhile, back at Sarah shows up with tabs to the distraught Victor as Victor is starting another freak out, but Tabitha calms him down. And Sarah kind of joins in and kind of are able to work Victor forward, which I guess makes Tabs and Sarah the Victor Whisperers. And finally, Victor starts remembering it was in the church basement. And it wasn't Jasper. It was the boy in white.
Oh, don't trust that kid.
And then he starts kind of quoting along with the scene we're watching. This is it. I'm going to give it to you in its fullness. The answers to the end are at the beginning. It started with the children. what the others did to them. The people they loved, the people they trusted, the children are born in the dark, and they were murdered in the dark. But someone who loved them told them a story. The story gave them hope. And when the children laid on the stones, they poured out their hope into the roots. The roots became the symbol. The symbol became the tree. The boy in white was telling Christopher to go through the tree in this moment. But Christopher, why he's angry, which we've heard about in Victor's memory, says everything lies here. Which again, okay, so we've got this refrain repeated a few times. Randall to Julie, Jim to Tabitha, and now Christopher in Victor's memory. Don't trust anything here. There's two factions.
Mm-hmm.
The faction that believes there's some good entity in this place that's trying to help them, and the faction that says, no, it's all lies. And
then how can I trust you, boy in white?
That's a good question. And so besides the very mysterious monologue we get from the boy in white, the big reveal here is Victor's mom went through the tree. It was clearly implying that she could very much still be alive somewhere at some time. Do you think she's still alive, Cody?
Yes, but hearing you read off the speech, and this is going to be a darker Fromspiracy.
Oh.
What if this is... Okay, so we're in Victor's head for this Fromspiracy, but what if he's a victim of like a church sex abuse scandal?
Well, that was deep and dark.
And then it kind of explains some of the gothic structures that he's envisioning. The church and the town people cover it up.
Are we talking Victor or the boy in white?
Victor and the boy in white, because I think you're in Victor's head and he's trying to process this.
Oh,
and I mean, the boy in white could be a choir boy.
Yeah, again, we're going the trauma route.
Yes.
And I'm inclined to think there's something to that because the boy in white is wearing weirdly like 50s clothing, which would put him like the only other people that do that are the monsters. And so again, yeah, this is all sort of odd and strange. It makes you wonder if it's a good entity, a bad entity. But if it's all in Victor's head, it sort of makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm throwing all the Fromspiracies out.
So that's the big reveal, though, at the end there, along with the monologue, is that Victor's mom went through the faraway tree. Let's go back to Elgin.
Yeah.
Elgin goes slinking around the clinic after he gets another mysterious Polaroid. Elgin is acting shady, and Randall appears to kind of sense it and see it. Old Randall may have called him on it. New Randall apologizes for being so hard on him on the bus.
About time.
As it turns out, you were right. We should have turned around. Elgin apologizes for ralphing on his shirt, as one should.
Yeah.
And Elgin gets the necessary tools to draw his own blood. Cody, what the heck is going on here?
There has to be a sacrifice.
I did not see, even with what I'm about to tell you, what happens at the end of the episode, I'm not really sure what the blood is for.
Blood transfusion.
I mean, that's what it looks like.
So I think if a medical procedure happening is about to occur, then to keep the patient alive, they may need some blood.
Yeah. Well, that's where we get to this part. Elgin shows up with Fatima out at the shack, claiming that, he's taking her to a different place. Ellis is going to meet him there. Elgin is actively involved in the lying now.
Well, big question is, how does he know that she's there?
That I assume the Polaroid told him. I don't know.
Like, that's a big assumption.
Yeah.
That, like, oh, this Polaroid is of the shack. I need to go to the shack and then take...
Even if the
Fatima.
Polaroid is of the shack, how does he know where it is?
Kimono lady.
Elgin is not letting on as much as he knows. This is a dude who for the last few episodes now has been acting like he's been here before.
It's because he's the key.
He knows where everything is by looking at a Polaroid of it.
Yep.
I'm just saying, this is weird. Fatima hesitantly follows him down to the bunker, but it all goes away when she realizes he wants her to stay in this small little cell, secret room, creepy room with the the corpse in it, which I don't even know if she even sees it. She saw the kimono lady in the shack. I skipped over that. That seems important, but now. It's these words emit from Elgin's mouth as Fatima is starting to freak. He says that Fatima is pregnant with a baby. It just isn't hers.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, what in the world? And it's time for my Fromspiracy.
So you're not going with the alien impregnation?
No, I am not, because I don't think Elgin fully knows what he's talking about. And does not understand and realize he's talking to his mother. I think Elgin is is Fatima and Ellis's boy. If we're going with the time loop, it all fits. He looks the way I would imagine their kid would look. He's got all the features. He looks. You compare this quote and these actions with what he said to the kimono lady in the last episode. So this is where it happens. This is where I'm born. I think Elgin is ensuring that he's going to be born.
Yeah.
And it might not be anything sinister at all. It might be like, oh, I've got to make sure I'm born, because otherwise I don't know if he disappears like in Back to the Future.
Hope not.
When she tries to flee, he grabs her, hauls her into the room, closing out the episode with an unexpected kidnapping, Cody. But you'll notice that when he's being very delicate with her, it's not like super horrific or vicious or physical. He's being very, careful with her.
It's a kind kidnapping.
Yeah. And he's saying, I'm sorry.
There are the Fromspiracies. That kimono lady is Fatima. I have seen them.
But what if, okay, so we're getting all this, we've officially confirmed time loops.
Yes.
These weird time loops are going on. What if kimono lady's Tien Chen?
Is a young Tien Chen?
Yeah. But what if your spirit realm, whatever, in Fromville self can manifest as like any version of you in your life? I just don't know. I don't know, but I kind of wondered if people are destined to keep coming back here. If we're going to argue that everyone in Fromville is maybe a part of the original crew.
Reincarnation.
That showed up. I guess, maybe. I guess, but maybe it's something more complex than just straight reincarnation. That, like, I don't know, people in the real world are like totems for these souls, right?
Maybe.
I don't know. Cody, who is, that's the end of the episode. Sets up a real wing dinger of a couple episodes left, of which seems like we're really getting into the deep stuff now. We're going to start finding out some things. Cody, who's the winner of this episode?
I wanted to say Jade. It's probably Donna.
Donna has a great moment.
That even though she's only there for a few scenes, her scenes are at least trying to, if the standard is we're going to be transparent and honest and open and try to keep everyone together, then we can't change our standard when there's something personal. And for Boyd, it is his daughter-in-law just murdered Tilly. And so he's willing to change his standards. Donna is about keeping the truth.
Yeah. I would go with that. I think Donna, that scene is great. And Donna is going to be the new leader after Boyd's fall from grace here. I think everyone will kind of elect Donna as the new leader of Fromville. But let's not forget the actors that just had great scenes in this episode. As my winners of the episode, I'm going Elizabeth Saunders as Donna, David Alpay as Jade, and Robert Joy as Henry. In that scene was just amazing. Cody, who's the loser of the episode?
I wanted to say Acosta.
She hardly does anything.
Exactly.
She's just falling for Kenny. In my eyes.
It's Fatima.
Yeah, boy, Fatima. Gosh, it's rough. It's rough being Fatima out here.
Yeah.
Feel like she's not making it out of this season, Cody. She's going to deliver this monster baby or Elgin, depending on what Fromspiracy you believe, and she's going to be gonzos.
Yeah, I don't know if Elgin's magical blood transfusion will help her or not.
Yeah. It's time for our RIP segment. Rest in peace. We're here today to pay our tribute and remember Boyd's credibility.
I was going to say, are we burying Tilly again?
No, Boyd's credibility, leadership that was so instrumental in season 1 started to get some rust on it in season 2, and now it's fully under attack and appears to be waning to nothingness, all going according to the monster's plan. I think Boyd's leadership days are about behind him.
And maybe Boyd might be behind us.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be interesting? I don't think so, though. Harold Perrineau is too important to the show.
So, having not watched Lost, I will preface this. I don't know if they kill off major characters willy-nilly, but it would be a trip.
Yeah. Yep. Cody, how many haunted arches out of 10 are you giving this episode?
Because it's pointing towards the fact that Elgin is the key, we'll go with 8.5.
Yeah, I was thinking 8 in my head by the end of this episode, and it's because we get some big reveals. It feels like the ship is turning, the Titanic is turning. We're at least heading for we got our sights set on the real mysteries of the whole place now for maybe the first time.
We're about to crash into an iceberg.
Let's hope not. Everybody, we thank you so much for listening to our watch-alongs. If you're loving Friends, tell your from, not friends. If you're loving From, tell your From-loving friends, if I can get that out right, where they can get a good recap right here at Pop Culture Pastor Watch-alongs.
Or tell the cast of Friends to listen to the podcast.
That would be nice. If one of the cast of Friends shows up in Fromville, that'd be trippy. Like them as their actor selves. Like imagine the dude that plays Ross.
David Schwimmer.
Imagine David Schwimmer just rolls into town as David Schwimmer. That would be amazing. And maybe, a little levity.
Maybe.
Until next time.